I'm upstate, as some of you know. I work up here sometimes. I've been up here a lot, but the Wi-Fi, the internet is never as great as it is in the city. So it's always a little like, is this gonna work? Is it not? But it looks like it's working today. We are hanging out by the fireplace. I was joking last week during our training that I felt like Roosevelt having some fireside chats with you all. And I'm excited to hang today and to dive into today's conversation. We're gonna be talking all about how to blow your competition out of the water. And I think you'll be surprised at what I have to share here, because I think this is something that comes up a lot in the online space. And I think there's different perspectives on this, and I'm really hoping today's perspective will give you a completely different mindset and approach to your competition, and some interesting things I want to chat about. Kind of a backstory here, and then we'll dive into the mindset approach and really break this apart a little bit, talk about crowded marketplaces, as well as really how to use this secret as a way to not just blow your competition out of the water, but really to blow your business up in a really beautiful way. And whoever is joining, say, hey, we're just getting started. So I don't know, we don't have the same lighting up here, y'all. Well, we're just gonna hope that this works today. We've also got Nala, my cat, by the way. She's like dying for dinner, so she might make an appearance. This conversation is really born out of something. I get a lot of questions from people, not necessarily clients, so this does come up with clients, but oftentimes I'll have people ask me, aren't you worried about the competition online? Aren't you worried that people are gonna steal your ideas? Aren't you worried about, one of your clients who has the same business model as you? Aren't you worried about someone who's your friend who's doing the same thing, that they're gonna take your business? And it's really fascinating to me because I understand where this comes from. And anytime that comes up, it's fascinating to me because while I definitely have my share of things I've had to work through in my mindset, this is not one of them. And I've always just sort of been like, oh, no, I'm not worried at all, at all, because of what we're gonna talk about today. And so that's where this comes from. And I'm really, really hoping that this will give you some really great insights and tools. So the reason I'm not worried about the competition, the reason, my secret to blowing the competition out of the water, and this is going to sound overly simple, but it's not as simple in practice, and I really want to break this down because it's so important, is I believe there is no competition, and I believe a crowded market space is a really, really good thing for us in business. And that's what I want to talk about today, these two concepts. So I'm going to repeat that, and then we're going to break this down so that it actually makes sense, and it's not just like one of these things people say online, but something you can actually implement as a mindset and practice in your business. So I'm going to repeat that. I believe there is no competition. There's more than enough to go around, and there's actually no competition. I don't feel like I have any competition, which is why when someone asks me that, I'm not worried, which is why I feel great supporting clients who have a similar on paper business to me, or having friends who have a similar on paper business to me. I believe there's more than enough to go around, because y'all, there is. And I believe a crowded market space is a really, really good thing. So I prefaced this live today with this idea that the marketplace, it's noisy online. If you're in the online space, raise your hand, give me some praise hands. If it feels noisy, if it feels crowded, if it feels loud, if it feels like when you hop online, there are 8,000 people doing what you do, and it can start to feel, I know this I do hear from clients, it can start to feel a little bit like, is there room for another person? Is there room for me? Give me yeah, I've been there before. And this is where, let's start with the crowded marketplace here, and then we'll talk about the competition piece. It can start to feel very suffocating, I think, and it can really start, I think especially online, it can start to feel like, do people actually make money online, or do people just talk about this? Or there's just a few people who do that, which, side note, absolutely people do. I work with a bunch of amazing clients who do. I know a bunch of amazing people do. It's no different than business offline. Just don't normalize that. But I think that's how it can start to feel, because unlike being in business offline, where you might not see all your competitors, the people in your space, in the online space, everyone from the entire world is right in our face, right? So it can feel, we're very aware of how many other people there are. Does that make sense? Here's the deal. That is the best thing in the entire world for you. And here's why. Here's why crowded marketplace is an amazing thing. First, that means there's a demand, y'all. I live in New York City, and right now I'm in a small town upstate. Let me tell you, it is way more crowded in New York City, and there's way more opportunity and business happening in New York City than in the small town I'm in right now. If there's someone here, the small town I'm in happens to have some coffee shops, it has some wine vineyards. There's technically, it's not very crowded, it's not too busy, there's not a lot of competition. And yet, if someone here were to open that same business in New York City, it would be a lot more crowded, there'd be a lot more competition, and even though it's crowded, it'd be a really great thing because there'd be so much more demand for what they were selling. Does that make sense? So first and foremost, the fact that your industry is crowded, that's a really good thing. That means there are people out there who want what you have to sell. Like, best news ever. If your market isn't that crowded, it's not that that's a bad thing, but that means we usually have to work a little harder to help people to understand what it is we do and sell. I know when I started in the coaching industry, like, coaching was a much more foreign term, and now it's much more saturated. That's such great news. What that means is there's a bunch of other people marketing and teaching the world why they need coaching, so I don't have to. Like, good news. Does that make sense, y'all? I'm gonna give some examples here in a little bit, but I want to talk about the competition piece as well. The other thing with a crowded market space that's really important to hear is, ooh, Nala, my cat, I'm on a tripod, y'all, and Nala, my cat, you can't see her, she's on the other end. She's like batting her paw. She's like, no, pay attention to me, mama. The other thing with a crowded marketplace, there's a few things here. If we don't have a crowded marketplace, what we have is Monopoly. So kind of like the board game Monopoly, if you have a Monopoly, you own that whole section of an area. The same thing in business. If we don't have, no, don't knock that over, baby girl. This is like having a child, I think, trying to do a live stream with a child. If there's a monopoly in our industry, it might be like, oh, if I had a monopoly of my industry, that would be amazing because I could just be the only one and rule the show. I think sometimes we think that. However, when there's a monopoly, sure, maybe it's good for the person who has the monopoly. What happens is quality tends to go down. So when we have a crowded market space, the positive part of this is quality tends to go up because it's not even competition, it's just the nature of there being more people. We are more driven than to increase our quality. If there's a monopoly and there's only one person selling or offering what the thing is, I mean, quality kind of goes out the window because you've got a monopoly on it. This is how slumlords, I think, it sounds horrible, but why that kind of thing can happen because they have a monopoly over certain places people live. Other thing when there's a monopoly versus a crowded market and why a crowded market is such a good thing, you all, and just like such a mindset perspective I want to give you instead of getting spun out. Hey, thank you guys for joining me. I see a couple friendly faces on here. With a crowded marketplace, innovation goes up. Innovation, really good thing. One of the things that I'm so thrilled about in business is that because the marketplace is crowded, I am driven to innovate. I bring new ideas. I know for my clients, I'm constantly thinking of new concepts, new ways to increase the quality of my service and increase the innovation of our industry. It's a really important thing, you all. When there's a monopoly, innovation goes out the window, quality goes out the window, and we tend to have a plateau in an industry. So I know if you're here, you're heart-centered, you're passion-driven, your industry is important to you. What we want is to drive that industry forward. Having a crowded marketplace encourages that. Does that make sense? Y'all know many of you know, I'm an ex-actress. If we think about the film industry, the more crowded the film industry has gotten, the more innovative it's gotten, the more quality art we're getting, the more variety we're getting in terms of what we can view. If we go back to the beginning, it's not that the art wasn't good, but the innovation hadn't happened yet. The quality was more contained because there were fewer people, fewer studios running the industry. And as the industry has expanded, so has the quality, so has the reach, so has the innovation. It's making sense. Other thing with a crowded industry, like, this is the best part of it, y'all. This is what we were speaking to before, and then I'm going to give you some examples and talk to you about how this has to do with competition and there being no competition. With a crowded industry, what you'll start to find is instead of it being a crowded industry that's competing against your business, a crowded industry with lots of people selling the same thing as you means that they are marketing and advertising for you. What I mean by this is, I think I have a good example here. Okay, coffee lovers, I'm a coffee lover. I live in New York City, I say this all the time. We have a coffee shop around the corner I adore. There's also a Starbucks on every single corner. There's also a different coffee shop on every corner. It is a crowded marketplace for coffee shops. And because it is a crowded marketplace for coffee shops, because there is a need and demand, every time I pass by a Starbucks, every time I pass by another coffee shop, I think coffee. And then what do I think? I don't think Starbucks. I think the coffee I love, which is around the corner from me. So indirectly, the crowded marketplace advertises my choice in coffee. Does that make sense as a concept? And this is kind of then bringing it back full circle to this idea around there is no competition. The more crowded a marketplace is, and the more we're clear that we have this mindset that there is no competition, because what we bring to the market is unique. It is different. We are innovating and bringing quality that is a different offer than someone else. It's a different flavor. And what we have to deliver is exactly the right thing for our people, just like what someone else has to deliver is exactly the right thing for their people. And we're not in competition. We're both serving different audiences. There's more than enough to go around. The more we can see there's no competition, and we end up supporting one another. Starbucks helps me think I need to go buy from that coffee shop down the corner. For all the people who don't want the coffee shop down the corner, around the corner from me, when they pass that, they think, where's the next Starbucks? Because I want my, I don't know, what's the like cool drink kids are drinking now, the rainbow frappuccino thing, whatever it is. Clearly not a cool kid. But I think you understand what I'm saying. I'm going to use an ice cream example because I think apparently I'm on a food example here to explain the idea of a crowded marketplace and there's no competition. But let's talk about the no competition piece just for one more second, because I really want to make sure you understand this. And let me know if you're picking this up. Feel free to comment, ask me questions, any of the things. No competition. What I mean by this and why this is what I truly and sincerely believe it's so freeing in business, and why I can coach someone who has a similar business or a different business than me and be friends with people who have a similar business on paper, is because there's no competition. We might offer the same thing. We might offer the same exact product, but we each have a very different flavor. Because we have a different flavor, because we have a different way of doing things, because the marketplace is crowded and it encourages us to create quality and innovate and create our own way to serve our audience, we are invariably different, which means I am going to be the absolute best investment for my people. I know for my people, I am the best fucking investment they can make in their business. And that doesn't mean that another coach who does the same work as me isn't also the best investment for their people. So does that make sense? We can both be the best because what we're offering, even if we're both offering business coaching, we are going to have a different way we serve our people. And so I am going to be the best thing for my people, just like they're going to be the best thing for their people. That doesn't make one of us better or worse. It doesn't mean there's not enough to go around. It doesn't mean we're competing. In fact, it means we can be friends and support one another. We can, rising tide lifts all ships. It means there's enough for all of us. But it does mean there's no competition. And as soon as you can take on this mindset, you can blow your competition out of the water, because there is no competition, and then you show up differently. Then you're able to show up as knowing I am the best for my people. I am the best flavor in my industry for my people, and there is no competition. We show up with a different energy, we take different actions, we get different results. However, when we're in the mindset of it's so crowded online, there's not enough to go around, and I've got to compete, what happens? We get into scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset says there's not enough to go around. We start to create a self-fulfilling prophecy because we show up in the way that there's not enough to go around. Our brain, literally, reticular activating system, starts to take in evidence that says there's not enough to go around. We also come from this mindset of I'm not really good enough because I'm competing. I have to figure out a way to get better, which is basically saying I don't think I'm good enough, versus how can I create quality and innovate, which again means we're showing up in our businesses from this mindset of I'm not good enough and there isn't enough to go around, I'm in competition. We're going to get evidence mirrored back to us saying exactly that's true, becomes a self-fulfilling, self-fulfilling prophecy. Not because, I believe in energy and woo, but not even because of the woo, because of how our brain is working. We're programming our brain in to say there's not enough, there's a lot of competition, and I'm not good enough. And unless I figure out a way to be the best, and there can only be one best, I'm not going to make money in the online space. It's too crowded. Now you tell me, if you have that mindset, how does that work out for you? What do you get back as a result versus showing up knowing there's more than enough to go around? There's no competition because I am the best for my people, just like someone else is the best for my people. And I show up for my people that way, and I deliver fucking great value for my people and serve my people really amazingly, and I'm not worried about anything else. Guess what? You keep your blinders on this way, and this is also then how you're able to create a business you actually like and serve your people from a full place of energy and actually innovate and create a business that's unique versus, and then I see a comment that I want to jump on versus, I'm very ranty right here, again, when we're in the competitive mindset, and hey, no shame in the game, like raise your hand if you've been there, but what else happens? Instead of eyes on our paper, creating our own business model, our own version of success, which is the whole idea of entrepreneurialism, right? We're suddenly crowded marketplace, looking everywhere. I gotta beat everyone, which means suddenly we're like online at 2 a.m. stalking someone. We're like looking up their website, we're looking up their programs, we're looking up their social media, trying to figure out what they're doing, and then we're trying to figure out how we can mimic that. Which tends to not work because, I'm gonna give you an ice cream example, because we're just catching their surface business and we're trying to be something we're not, instead of really owning what we are for our people. I'm gonna read this comment and then I've got an ice cream example because I think that'll make more sense. Eric says, this is great, Krim. Where does the differentiation fit into this idea? I love that question. Thank you, Eric. I'm not going to shout you out too much, but thanks for watching. I'm going to talk about ice cream, and I think that'll describe differentiation because that is a perfect segue. So thank you for asking. So differentiation, and the idea with differentiation, can I say that word, y'all? The idea with this is not, just so everyone who's watching knows and anyone watching on the replay, this is not the idea of like being different for different sake. This is how do we create, some people call it a blue ocean in our industry. How do we create our own red ocean, meaning that's where everyone's fighting and competing. Blue ocean is a calm ocean where no one is competing. How do we differentiate? How do we stand out? How do we make ourselves different from the rest of the industry? And what I think is a lot of times this concept can get muddled because we are competing, and so we try to find a way to stand out and to be different for the sake of being different because we feel we have to be the best, versus really getting clear and leaning into what our secret sauce is, what our zone of genius is, what we inherently bring to the table, what our people need from us, and how we can serve our people better than anyone else because they're our people, because we're the best solution for them. That naturally allows us to differentiate. I'm going to give an ice cream example and a dating example for this. So ice cream. If we go into an ice cream store and you go with 2 other friends, so there's 3 of you going into an ice cream store, and there's 31 flavors because it's Baskin Robbins, there's a good chance all 3 of you, crowded marketplace, right? 31 flavors. There's a good chance all 3 of you are going to choose 3 different ice cream flavors. One of you might choose vanilla, one of you might choose coffee, one of you might choose, strawberry shortcake. Now, first, just for the idea of a crowded marketplace, because there were 31 flavors and you had choice, that did not mean y'all walked out and didn't buy ice cream. Also, if you knew you wanted vanilla, that would be me, you did not walk in there and think, oh my God, there's 31 flavors. I absolutely need to have the rainbow sherbet. It's like, no, I want the vanilla because I know what I want. And it doesn't mean that because my friends bought coffee and strawberry shortcake that they are wrong or they got the inferior ice cream. We all chose the ice cream flavor that was right for us. We all chose in our minds what is the best flavor for us. So that's in terms of crowded marketplace. The 31 flavors being there actually helped us to come in and to purchase and make a buying choice. And the vanilla was best, the strawberry was best, or strawberry shortcake, and the coffee was best. Is that making sense so far? And yet, while they technically seem like they're competing against one another, they're not competing at all, unless you're dealing with someone who's really indecisive and doesn't know what they want. But that's actually someone who isn't ready to buy and purchase. Someone who's ready to buy and purchase knows they're deciding what they want to spend their money on. There's no competition because I know what I want and my 2 friends know what they want. So we see that with the ice cream. And this is where the differentiation comes in. Those flavors are naturally different on their own. Coffee didn't have to try to be so different from vanilla by like being extra coffee or like I'm super intense coffee. And strawberry shortcake didn't have to be differentiate itself from vanilla by like trying to be like swirly strawberry shortcake. They are inherently different because they all owned their flavor. They all owned their essence. They all owned their zone of genius, so to say. Is that making sense so far? And here is what happens when we get tripped up with a crowded marketplace and we get into a competitive mindset. Let's say you're coffee and it's like really good coffee ice cream and you're a coffee ice cream lover. Now let's say the coffee ice cream's like, oh my God, there's 30 other flavors and they're competing against me and I'm gonna lose all the money, and okay, so what do I need to do? I'm gonna start looking around and okay, oh, vanilla, someone just bought vanilla, that's the flavor. What I need to do is like, I'm gonna study them. I'm gonna put a bunch of vanilla in, I'm gonna take my coffee flavor out. And so they do that. And suddenly there's this like kind of weird, has anyone ever had coffee that's like watered down with like way too much milk in it and kind of tastes like crap? At least to me. Suddenly we have this ice cream flavor. It's not really vanilla, it's not really coffee, it doesn't really know what it is. It's kind of missing the super secret method to making the ice cream behind the scenes, because it's just been trying to like, you know, it's out of its lane trying to look over someone's shoulder. And suddenly it's like this really shitty ice cream flavor that no one wants to buy. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. No one buys it because it tastes like crap. And because it got out of its lane, because it got competitive, and because it thought there wasn't enough, and because it thought it had to be like everyone else, and because it was like doing the opposite of differentiating, which is literally owning what you do best, because no one does the work you do the way you do it, it became this kind of generic blah ice cream. And it proved to itself that it's a crowded marketplace and it's really competitive and no one wants to buy it. This is what we do in business all the time, y'all. And this is why it's so important we start to see there's no competition and it's not a crowded marketplace. Versus, let's go back to the whole idea of it's not a crowded marketplace, there's no competition, and because there's no monopoly and I want to be the best coffee flavor I can be, I'm running with this analogy, metaphor, whatever we call it. This is where innovation, building on quality, really being the best for your people comes into play. Imagine now the same ice cream flavor, coffee. We've like totally personified coffee, and then I'm going to reply to these comments. But let's say we're coffee ice cream, and we know it's great. There's 30 other ice cream flavors. In fact, they help us sell our flavor. We love vanilla. We love our strawberry shortcake friend. There's room for all of us. There are people who like both flavors, and we want to be the best damn coffee we can be. What happens? Suddenly, because we're not all over the place and we're focused, this is how we blow the competition out of the water. A, we don't think there's competition, and because we're focused and we're in our lane, we can start to increase the quality. Maybe we figure out a way to add, I don't know, a little more espresso to it. So it's like just that more, it's got a little more punch. Maybe we figure out a way to make the ice cream more creamy. Maybe we can innovate and we have like a new way to make the ice cream, probably making this like up, it's lower calorie or it's creamier or it's got a different, like maybe we put some chocolate espresso beans in it. Because we're not worried about the competition and we got our eyes on our paper and we're not worried about a crowded marketplace, we increase the quality, we increase innovation, we increase our product, which we then increase our sales. And because we have this mindset, it blows everything out of the water. We blow our own expectations out of the water. Is this making sense, y'all? Eric says, this is great, Ken. Great answer, thanks. Authenticity is key. Authenticity is always key, y'all. Authenticity is key. And I think we don't have to try to be authentic, just like we don't have to try to differentiate. Where we have to try is to really lean into this idea that there isn't competition. It being crowded is great, and how can we spend more time diving deep into what it is we do, what our people need, and how we can increase the quality of what we do. And that naturally brings out our authenticity. I'm gonna use a relationship example for this in a minute, as well as it naturally differentiates. Anyone else has any questions or reflections, let me know. I'm gonna use a relationship example here because sometimes those are really great as well. So if you're in a relationship and you have met your person, and this is like your person, you know, like your person for the rest of your life, they're the best person for you, right? And we could all say there's a crowded dating marketplace, right? But if you know that that's the best person for you, there's no competition, right? It doesn't matter who walks through the door. There is zero competition because they are the best person for you. Same in business. If it can be a crowded marketplace, all that means is there's lots of opportunities for people to find the best person for them, right? To find the best solution, the best fit for them. But there's no competition. It's not like just if there were fewer people in the dating pool, then if you meet someone who's wrong for you, you're like, well, I guess I'm just gonna settle for this. There's fewer people doesn't make someone else a better option. Is this making sense, y'all? So I think this is just a way we can think about our businesses. You are the right choice for your people, just like someone else is. There's no competition. And bringing it back to the authenticity piece and the differentiation piece, when you meet your person, when you're with your clients, when you're with your soulmate, you don't have to try to be different to stand out from everyone else they've dated. Just like you don't have to try to be authentic, right? You just naturally are different because you are a different human. You have a different energy with this person than someone else might. You have a different rapport. You have a different way of being with them. Just like you authentically show up as you are. Trying to be authentic is not authentic. And this brings us back to this whole idea of going deeper into our work, innovating, bringing more quality. The more you're in a relationship with someone, the deeper levels of authenticity and connection you build, right? Who you are as a couple is very different on date 2, date 1, date 3, than it is a year in, than it is 3 years in, than it is 5 years in. Would everyone agree with that? Feel free to chime in. It's the same thing for us if we think about authenticity in our work. It's going to evolve, but that doesn't make it less authentic when we start, just like that doesn't make it more authentic later on. It's just new layers as we're building relationships with our people. Hopefully this is all making sense. I'm going a little off tangent, but that felt important, and tangents are fun. But let's bring it back. Let me see if I just had any notes here. This is the last thing I wanted to share with you, and then we'll wrap this off because I always chat too long. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to offer here in terms of there not being any competition and why the crowded marketplace is quite honestly the best possible thing for you, when we were talking about this a little bit earlier. But that's really the idea that the more crowded the marketplace is, not only does this help our industries to evolve, which I know if you're here, you care about the work you do. That's such a good thing. We all want our industries to continue to evolve, but it really and truly helps to market your work. And I know we touched on this at the beginning, but I think it's a great thing to wrap up this conversation in a neat bow with. The more crowded it is, the more people want and need what you have, the more other people are informing the world, the online space, the marketplace of how important the work you do is. They're doing your work for you. And this is what we were using the coffee example at the beginning, and I really just want to put a button on that here and why there is no competition, and it's a good thing. If you see someone who is selling the same thing as you, putting a sales post in a Facebook group, or talking about maybe why they think what you do isn't, I've seen that, it happens in my group sometimes, right? Like why they think your version of how you do work isn't the right solution. This is all a great thing, guys. This is like so good, because it means this is the differentiation. It means we're having conversations to create whatever that industry is, to have it be top of mind. The more top of mind something is, the more people want to spend their money on it. They want to look for solutions. The more they're even aware they have problems that need to be solved. The more people disagree with what you do, or the more people share, like, this is the way I do and it's different than you, that's differentiation. That's such a good thing, because the people who are right for you, your soulmate in the relationship, or the person who wants to buy the coffee flavored ice cream, they're like, cool, I can understand where you're coming from, but this option right here is what I'm looking for. And I think this is so important, because it's so easy to get stuck in comparisonitis, and it's also so easy to see people doing things a different way, see other people selling and doing well and think that there's not enough for us, or to have someone tell us the way we're doing it isn't the right way, and to want to buy into that, versus when you know there's more than enough to go around, there's no competition. It's so much easier to have the blinders on and to be like, cool, I hear you, and I know I am the best solution for my people, just like you're the best solution for your people, and there is room for both to coexist at the same time, and there's room for both of us. Hey Debbie, nice to have you here. So that's the note I want to close on. I'm just going to repeat that, and anyone watching on the replay as well, feel free to, any reflections, questions, all of them always welcome for it. But just to really put that button on it as a recap. Eric says, this fits so nicely with your thoughts on abundance mindset and self-belief. Love this. Thank you. So just to put a button and a bow on this, did I have anything else here? I always end these things, y'all. I have all these notes, and I forget the 40 other things I want to share with you, which I will share. Oh, then I'm going to put a button on this. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, it's my name. I do a free training every single day, Monday through Friday. We do a bite-sized biz lesson. I should tell you that. You should follow me. They're really fun. They're completely free. That's what I did want to tell you. And then to wrap this up in a bow, this is just, again, just to really, really hear this. A crowded marketplace is the best thing possible for whatever industry you're in. There's enough room for everyone, and there is no competition. You can be, and you should be, the best solution for your people, the best investment for your people in terms of what you offer. And you can be the best, and someone else can also be the best for their people. And there is room for both to coexist. There is enough room for everyone. There is room to coexist. I can go and decide my favorite pizza in the city is Joe's Pizza Slices, and there is enough room for 4,000 other pizza slices that are someone else's favorite pizza slices, as a last final food example to give you, because they're all the best for their people. And so please, please, please take this in so that you can get out of that lack mentality, get out of that mentality that you're not good enough, and get out of that mentality that says there isn't enough to go around, that has us in comparisonitis, because there truly, truly, truly is. All right, I'm gonna read these and then I'm gonna hop off, y'all. Hey, Kate, and Courtney says, such a great new way to look at competition in a crowded market. Thanks, Kim, and please have Nala every live with you. I will actually, before we end, guys, let me see if I can grab Nala. Everyone who hasn't met Nala, this is Miss Nala. Nala, there's enough room for everyone, right? She says, feed me. All right, I'm gonna go feed Miss Nala. Thank you all for hanging with me. Questions, reflections, leave them. Love you all so much, and I will see you next Tuesday with another live. Lots of love, you all. Bye.